In a grand auditorium in Madrid, tensions ran high as a priest tore apart a sacred text, challenging the very foundation of Islam. But when a young Muslim man stood up to respond, what unfolded was more than just a debate. It was a journey of truth, humility, and transformation. With every question asked and answered, hearts opened, walls fell, and an unexpected conversion changed everything. This is the story of how wisdom triumphed over hate, and how one voice brought hope to a divided world. The grand auditorium in Madrid was a sea of anticipation, its vast space echoing with whispers and murmurs as people from various walks of life gathered for what was billed as an interfaith debate. The air was thick with expectation, but beneath the surface lay tension that would soon explode into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. At the center of it all stood Father Thomas, a well-known Catholic priest renowned not only for his oratory skills, but also for his unapologetic stance against other religions. His reputation preceded him, and many had come to witness the spectacle he promised to deliver. As the event began, Father Thomas took the stage with an air of superiority, his voice booming through the microphone like thunder rolling across the heavens. "Today," he declared, "I stand here to challenge the very foundations of Islam. If you believe your God is true, then prove it to me." His words were sharp, cutting through the silence like a blade, leaving no room for ambiguity. But it wasn't just his rhetoric that caught everyone's attention. It was the audacity with which he acted next. From the pocket of his cassock, he pulled out a copy of the Quran, holding it high above his head as if mocking its significance. With deliberate slowness, he tore the sacred text apart, page by page, each rip resonating like a slap in the face to every Muslim present. Gasps filled the room, some gasping in disbelief, others in anger, while a few buried their faces in their hands, unable to bear witness to such sacrilege. Among those seated in the audience was Amir, a young Muslim man whose heart raced with fury yet remained rooted in restraint. He watched as Father Thomas continued his tirade, hurling insults at Islam with venomous intent. Every word stung, every gesture cut deep, but Amir knew better than to let his emotions get the better of him. Instead, he raised his hand slowly, deliberately, catching the moderator's eye. When given permission to speak, Amir rose from his seat, his movements measured and calm despite the storm brewing within him. As he approached the podium, the crowd fell silent, curious about how this seemingly ordinary youth would respond to the priest's provocations. There was no shouting, no retaliation, just a quiet determination etched on Amir's face, a promise that he would meet fire with reason, hatred with compassion. Once Amir reached the podium, Father Thomas wasted no time in launching his assault. Leaning forward with a smirk, he fired off his first question, his tone dripping with condescension. "Prove to me that your God exists. Show him to me right now. If he truly is omnipotent, why can't he reveal himself?" The room fell deathly silent, the weight of the question hanging heavy in the air. For many Muslims present, this was more than just a rhetorical challenge. It was an affront to their faith, a direct attack on the very essence of their belief system. Yet Amir did not flinch. His eyes met Father Thomas's without wavering, and he nodded slightly, signaling that he understood the gravity of the request. Father Thomas pressed on, emboldened by Amir's apparent calmness. "And why do Muslims make pilgrimage to Mecca? To worship a stone, perhaps? Is that really what you call devotion?" The laughter that followed was forced, nervous even, as though the audience itself sensed the insensitivity of the remark. Still, Amir maintained his composure, refusing to be baited by the priest's inflammatory language. But the third question struck a chord deeper than the others. "Why are there Muslims who become terrorists?" Father Thomas asked, his voice rising with theatrical indignation. "If your religion preaches peace, why does violence seem to follow wherever it goes?" This time, the room erupted, not in applause, but in murmurs of discontent. Some Muslims clenched their fists, struggling to contain their anger, while others exchanged glances of frustration. It was a loaded question, one designed to provoke and divide, and Amir knew it. Yet instead of responding with outrage, he simply smiled, a small, knowing smile that seemed to say, "Let us see where this leads." For Amir, these questions were not merely challenges to his intellect. They were opportunities to showcase the beauty and logic of Islam. Each word Father Thomas spoke was like a brick laid down in a wall of misunderstanding, and Amir saw himself as the architect tasked with dismantling it, brick by painstaking brick. And so, with a deep breath, he began his response, his voice steady and unwavering, carrying the weight of centuries of wisdom passed down through generations of believers. Amir started with the first question, addressing the existence of God. "Father Thomas," he began, his voice clear and confident, "you ask for proof of Allah's existence. Let me share with you Surah Al-Ikhlas, verses 1-4, from the Quran. Say, He is Allah, the One. Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, and there is none comparable to him." He paused, letting the words sink in, their simplicity and profundity piercing through the fog of doubt. This verse encapsulates the essence of monotheism, the idea that God is beyond human comprehension, yet his presence is felt in every aspect of creation. You cannot demand to see God because he transcends physical form, much like love, or justice cannot be seen but are experienced nonetheless. Moving on to the second question, Amir addressed the concept of Hajj and the Kaaba. "You mentioned the Kaaba, calling it a mere stone," he said, his voice softening with reverence. "But the Kaaba is not an idol. It is a symbol of unity, a reminder of our shared heritage as descendants of Abraham. It was built by Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail as a house of worship dedicated solely to the one true God. When Muslims perform Hajj, they are not worshipping the structure itself, but rather connecting with the divine through acts of humility and devotion." His explanation was met with nods of understanding from several members of the audience, even among non-Muslims who appreciated the clarity of his argument. Finally, Amir tackled the most sensitive question of all, terrorism. "Father Thomas," he said firmly, "Islam teaches peace, mercy, and compassion. These values are enshrined in countless verses of the Quran, including Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 32, which states, 'Whoever kills a soul, unless for a soul or for corruption done in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely, and whoever saves one, it is as if he had saved mankind entirely.' Acts of terrorism committed in the name of Islam are not representative of the faith. They are distortions perpetuated by individuals driven by political agendas or personal grievances. To equate such actions with Islam is akin to blaming Christianity for the Crusades or Judaism for certain conflicts in history. We must separate ideology from extremism." As Amir concluded his answers, the auditorium was enveloped in a profound silence. Many in the audience leaned forward in their seats, captivated by the depth of his responses. Even Father Thomas seemed momentarily stunned, his smug expression faltering under the weight of Amir's eloquence. What had begun as a confrontation was slowly transforming into a dialogue, one that transcended mere words and touched the hearts of those listening. With his initial questions answered, Amir turned the tables on Father Thomas and his companion, Sister Maria, a devout nun known for her unwavering commitment to her faith. "Now," Amir said gently, "allow me to pose 3 questions of my own." He paused, giving the pair time to brace themselves for what was coming next. First, why did Jesus die? Who crucified him? The question hung in the air, challenging the very foundation of Christian theology. Sister Maria shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her lips parting slightly as she searched for an answer. Was it not the Romans who crucified him? Amir continued, pressing further. If Jesus was indeed God, how could mortal men overpower him? His second question struck an even more vulnerable nerve. Did Jesus ever explicitly claim to be God? Amir asked, his voice steady but probing. In the Bible, we find passages where Jesus speaks of his relationship with God, but nowhere does he outright declare divinity. How, then, can we be certain of his identity? Sister Maria attempted to respond, citing verses from the Gospel, but her explanations lacked conviction, betraying the uncertainty that lingered beneath the surface. Finally, Amir posed his third and most poignant question. Is Jesus God, or is he a human being? The room grew quieter still, the weight of the query palpable. For Christians, this was not merely a philosophical dilemma. It was a theological cornerstone, one that defined their entire belief system. Yet faced with Amir's logical scrutiny, both Father Thomas and Sister Maria struggled to articulate a satisfactory response. Their hesitation spoke volumes, revealing cracks in the armor of certainty they had long taken for granted. As the silence stretched on, Amir offered them a gentle smile, devoid of malice or triumph. These questions are not meant to belittle your faith, he said sincerely, but to encourage reflection and understanding. Just as I have sought to explain the beauty of Islam, I hope you will take the time to explore the depths of your own beliefs. His words carried a warmth that disarmed even the harshest critics, leaving Father Thomas and Sister Maria humbled and contemplative, their hearts softened by the grace of Amir's arguments. Sister Maria, seated beside Father Thomas, felt her heart pounding as Amir's questions hung in the air like a heavy mist. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the Bible on her lap, searching desperately for answers that could silence the doubts now swirling within her mind. She knew these were not idle queries. They struck at the very core of Christianity, challenging centuries-old doctrines that had been accepted without question by millions around the world. Yet, as she flipped through the pages of Scripture, the clarity she sought eluded her. Jesus is the Son of God, Sister Maria began hesitantly, her voice trembling with uncertainty. He came to earth to save humanity from sin, and his death on the cross was a sacrifice for our redemption. But even as she spoke, her words lacked conviction. Amir nodded politely, waiting patiently for her to continue. Sensing his calm demeanor, Sister Maria pressed on, attempting to bolster her argument. The Gospels clearly state that Jesus claimed divinity when he said, "I and the Father are one." Amir listened intently before responding, his tone gentle yet firm. "But Sister Maria," he interjected, "does not the Bible also say that no man has seen God at any time? And if Jesus was indeed God incarnate, how could he be crucified by mere mortals? Would not an omnipotent being possess the power to prevent such an act?" His words struck a chord deep within her soul, forcing her to confront uncomfortable truths she had long avoided. For years, she had recited these teachings verbatim, never questioning their validity. Now, under Amir's scrutiny, the cracks in her understanding began to widen. As the silence stretched on, Sister Maria glanced toward Father Thomas, hoping for some form of reassurance or guidance. But the priest sat motionless, his face pale and expressionless. It was clear that neither of them possessed satisfactory answers to Amir's probing questions. Tears welled up in Sister Maria's eyes as the weight of doubt settled over her. She lowered her head, unable to meet Amir's gaze, her heart torn between loyalty to her faith and the unsettling realization that perhaps there were gaps in its logic that she had never dared to explore. In that moment, the auditorium fell silent, save for the faint sound of Sister Maria's quiet sobs. Many in the audience watched in awe, their hearts moved by the raw vulnerability displayed before them. Some whispered prayers of comfort, while others simply sat in stunned silence, witnessing firsthand the fragility of belief when confronted with unyielding reason. Even those who did not share Sister Maria's faith found themselves deeply affected, recognizing the universal struggle to reconcile faith with doubt. Father Thomas, once so confident and unyielding, now sat slumped in his chair, his earlier bravado replaced by a profound sense of shame. As he gazed upon Sister Maria's tear-streaked face, guilt washed over him in waves. How could he have been so blind, so arrogant? In tearing apart the Quran earlier, he had sought only to provoke, to humiliate and discredit Islam. But Amir's responses had shattered his facade, revealing flaws in his own arguments that he could no longer ignore. Slowly, deliberately, Father Thomas rose from his seat, his movements slow and deliberate, as though each step carried the burden of 1,000 regrets. He walked to the podium where Amir still stood, his posture relaxed but respectful. Placing both hands on the edge of the wooden surface, Father Thomas bowed his head, his voice barely audible above the hush of the crowd. I was wrong, he admitted, the words catching in his throat like shards of glass. What I did today, tearing the Quran, mocking your faith, it was cruel and unjustified. I am sorry. His apology hung in the air, heavy with sincerity. The audience held its collective breath, many surprised by the sudden shift in the priest's demeanor. Some exchanged glances of disbelief, while others wiped away tears, moved by the humility displayed before them. Father Thomas continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke from the heart. For years, I preached about love and forgiveness, yet here I stand, guilty of hatred and intolerance. Amir, you have shown me something I had forgotten, that truth does not need to be forced upon others. It can speak for itself through kindness and wisdom. As Father Thomas finished speaking, he extended a hand toward Amir, an olive branch offered in earnest. Amir hesitated for only a moment before accepting the gesture, shaking the priest's hand firmly. Their eyes met, and in that instant, a bridge of mutual respect was forged, a testament to the transformative power of dialogue over division. The applause that followed was thunderous, erupting spontaneously from every corner of the auditorium. People stood, clapping and cheering, their admiration for Amir palpable. But more than that, they applauded the courage it took for Father Thomas to admit his mistakes, to set aside pride and embrace humility. In that moment, the debate transcended mere words, becoming a powerful reminder of what it means to seek understanding rather than conflict. In the days following the debate, Father Thomas retreated into solitude, spending countless hours reflecting on the events that had transpired. He reread the Quran, this time with fresh eyes, marveling at its eloquence and depth. Verses that once seemed foreign now resonated with him on a profound level, speaking to his heart in ways he had never anticipated. Surah Al-Ikhlas, in particular, struck a chord within him, the simplicity of monotheism, the declaration of Allah's unity and transcendence, all rang true to him in ways that defied easy explanation. Weeks later, Father Thomas returned to the Eidzah auditorium, accompanied by Amir and a small group of friends. This time, however, he was not there to argue or debate. Instead, he stood before the gathered crowd, his voice steady and resolute. Today, he began, I come not as a priest, but as a seeker of truth. Through my encounter with Amir and the teachings of Islam, I've come to realize that the path to God is broader than I ever imagined. With humility and gratitude, I declare my intention to embrace Islam. Gasps rippled through the audience, some in shock, others in awe. A few Muslims wept openly, their joy mingling with tears of relief and vindication. For them, Father Thomas's conversion was not merely a victory for Islam, it was a testament to the enduring power of faith, reason, and compassion. As he recited the Shahada, affirming his belief in the oneness of Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, the room erupted in applause once more, a celebration of a life transformed. In the weeks and months that followed, Father Thomas, now known as Abdullah, became a devoted student of Islam, eager to learn and share its teachings with others. His journey was not without challenges. Old habits died hard, and the transition was fraught with moments of doubt and uncertainty. Yet, buoyed by the support of Amir and the Muslim community, he persevered, finding solace in the same principles of peace and justice that had drawn him to the faith in the first place. The debate at the Spanish auditorium left an indelible mark on all who witnessed it, serving as a powerful reminder of the importance of respectful dialogue in a world often divided by prejudice and misunderstanding. Amir's calm demeanor and thoughtful responses demonstrated that truth need not be imposed through force or intimidation, but could shine brightly through reason and compassion. By meeting hatred with love, he dismantled walls of mistrust, replacing them with bridges of understanding. For Father Thomas and Sister Maria, the experience marked the beginning of a new chapter in their spiritual journeys. Both had entered the auditorium certain of their convictions, only to find those beliefs challenged in ways they had never anticipated. Their struggles were painful, yet ultimately liberating, forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths and grow in the process. In doing so, they exemplified the transformative power of humility and openness, proving that even the most entrenched beliefs can evolve when faced with genuine inquiry. Beyond the immediate participants, the event inspired countless others, sparking conversations and reflections that rippled outward like waves in a pond. Muslims and non-Muslims alike found common ground in the shared pursuit of knowledge and truth, discovering that differences need not divide, but can instead enrich our understanding of one another. The story of Amir, Father Thomas, and Sister Maria became a symbol of hope, reminding us all that even in the face of adversity, dialogue and empathy can lead to reconciliation and growth. As the echoes of that fateful day faded into memory, the lessons learned remained etched in the hearts of those who experienced it. They served as a call to action, urging us to approach others with kindness, curiosity, and an open mind, to seek truth not through conquest, but through connection. And in that spirit, the legacy of the Spanish auditorium endures, a beacon of light in a world hungry for understanding.